Yeah, we had it right. Well, let's see. We had it right.
We're selling B12 hot dogs.
You ain't got
Yeah, like an old PG brand girl.
Hey, everybody signed the roll, right?
Wait, this morning, right?
This morning.
Yes, ma'am.
Don't stress me out now. Miss Gary took it, is what I'm telling you. You didn't sign, fess up now. Okay, so I'm going to tell her.
Sign again?
Okay, y'all good? You don't have to sign again.
We just want to make sure we sign.
But y'all better speak up if you ain't here. Okay.
Wait here.
She's Miss Campbell. Y'all know Miss Campbell, Miss Jane. She's fabulous, and she's going to talk to you about like some of your skills. I know the skills test is stressful no matter what level it is, and y'all have O2. Make sure the prongs are where they're supposed to be. And what else? Wound care.
Wound care and engine.
And wash your darn hands when you go to do anybody's wound. That's very important, right? I'm sorry, this ain't my part. But I did like
I could have left it for you.
I know.
Could have just continued.
I did wound care and ostomy care for about 30 years, so I got that too. It's fun. Nursing is so fun. You can do anything.
Yep.
All right. Bye, y'all.
Thank
You know what my email address is if you got any burning problems.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right, guys.
I'm looking at the clock, and there it is. The sky just fell in. So, and it's a holiday weekend, so I know none of y'all are going to pay attention to anything I have to say because you're ready to run. What I want to touch base on, the priority thing that I want to touch base on, do you all have access to the videos?
Yes.
How many of you have watched any of them?
No, I'm still working on EAQs.
Okay. So the plan was we were going to have an hour and we were going to play the videos that pertain to oxygenation, to NG insertion, and to wound dressings. So what I did was already went into Elsevier. Pull them all up. So, do you know how to get to them?
Yes.
You know how to access them. You've been there before. You do have the right code to get in and get them now. Okay, I'm going to trust that you're going to go back and you're going to watch these videos. Because next week you're going to come to class on what? Tuesday. Well, no, Tuesday's testing. When do y'all have practice, lab practice? Thursday, huh? Thursday. So you need to know these 3 videos and the procedures. What I like about Elsevier is that here you got, there's my mouse, the short, quick synopsis of what you're supposed to be doing. You've got the extended. Some people don't like to watch videos, so it's all spelled out. But once you've read through all of that and you know what you're supposed to be doing, you come over here and click on demo, and there's a little video to go with it that shows you how to do it. And I'm not going to sit here and make you watch it right now.
Before inserting a nasogastric or NG tube, check the provider's orders to verify the type of tube to be inserted. Review the patient's medical record for a history of basilar skull fracture, nosebleeds.
Okay. This one is on the dressing changes. So what's the most important thing with the dressing change?
Sterile.
Sterile. Because we're talking about a wet to dry dressing change.
What's going on the wall?
Just a regular dressing change, yeah, you need to be clean and, but you don't always have to put on sterile gloves. For a wet to dry dressing change, you need to put on sterile gloves. So if you were poor on your techniques with sterile glove and putting them on last semester, you need to beef up on that because you can fail this skill for that purpose. And that's what we get a lot of students that have, it's not that you can't do the dressing change, putting the gloves on and not contaminating them. The other is pouring the solution. Not contaminating your sterile field. So those are the things. We will, not all of the faculty will be in there for practice next week, but the majority of us will be, so you can, we can watch you and help you out if you have any questions, and go over all of that with you. But if you watch the videos prior to then, you'll be better prepared. My bet would be you wait, you study all weekend, and you take test 2 on Tuesday, and then you go home and watch the videos. Because then they'll be fresh, and you can always send me a message, say, hey, I watched this video and I didn't like this, or I didn't understand that, or I read this, and send me a message, ask me. That's what we're here for. If you got questions and you don't ask them, we don't know that we need to answer them. Okay? We know, like Ms. Cooper was saying, things that we've done in the past, or situations that we've observed that weren't done correctly. And so that's what our practice session is for, is to let you get in there and practice and get comfortable with your skills. You are the ultimate one responsible for learning your skills and for performing those skills appropriately. So stop and think. How many of you have kids? Okay. All of you have someone in your life that could be in the hospital. So picture somebody that you love and care about, and you are stressed out because they're in the hospital. And the nurse comes in with a blood pressure cuff, grabs on, doesn't say a word, just walks in. How does that make you feel?
Rude.
Okay, stop and think about those things. Because when you've got this plan in mind, we keep talking to you guys about priorities. Priority setting, who needs to be seen. Well, when you get out there in the work field, you're going to have anywhere from 5 to 8 patients. Sometimes more than that, depending on the facility that you're working at. So when you get there, you put this plan in motion. I just got report, and this is what I need to do, A, B, C, D. This is who I need to see, blah, blah, blah. This one I want to see first. Well, what happens when somebody throws a monkey wrench into that? You got to reprioritize. One of your test questions said, what's priority? The client's needs. Not your priority list. Just because I think this is priority doesn't mean that's what the client needs. So we have to look at all of those issues. So when we get to doing dressing changes, what's one of the things we're going to do first?
Wash our hands.
Okay, we're going to wash our hands. We've established washing our hands.
Oh, okay. Introduce ourselves.
Introduce yourself. Explain what we're going to be doing.
Verify the patient, make sure they're the correct
Verify
patient.
the patient. That's all of these things are with every procedure that we're going to do, not just dressing change. What happens with dressing change? If I'm talking about a wet to dry dressing, what does that mean?
The one that's on them is contaminated.
Wait,
And you gotta take it. Ugh.
That you need an area to work with. I feel like I'm not answering right.
No, you're good. Y'all are all answering appropriately because it's a multiple layer. So when we're talking about a wet to dry dressing, normally there's an open wound. It's not closed. It's an open wound. So we're going to be packing that wound with wet dressing. Well, we got to remove the old one first. Do we need sterile gloves to remove the old one?
No.
Just regular gloves.
Just regular gloves. And we're going to get rid of those, and then we're going to proceed. So, do you think that's going to hurt the patient?
Yes. Medicate.
Medication. So we're going to ask them ahead of time. Because more than likely, you're not going to be the first one doing this to them. Are you in pain now? What is their pain level? You're always assessing pain. If we need to give them some type of pain medication prior to doing this procedure, how long are we going to wait?
30 minutes.
At least
by now.
30 minutes. At least 30 minutes.
It's 10 by IV.
So, you know, we're going to come in, we're going to introduce ourselves, this is our plan. You know, find out if they're in pain, do we need to give them pain medication prior to, and then we'll be back. So that's a big concern with most procedures is the patient is stressed, the patient is in pain, and we want to make them as comfortable as possible with us and with the procedure. We want to take care of those issues. If some hospital, and every hospital is different, so depending on where you're going, what your supplies are going to be. Are you going to have to collect every single thing, or is it going to be in a kit? You know, prepackaged kits come with one size gloves. So if you have extra small hands or extra large hands, they're not going to fit. So you need to know that ahead of time and make sure that you plan accordingly. So any procedure that we're going to do, anytime we go into the room, we want to be looking at time management as well as our organization. So collect all your supplies prior to going in the room. Because you're going to get in the room, oh, I forgot this. Come back, put your gloves on. Oh, I don't have this. Make your list ahead of time. Make sure you have everything you need before you go in. That's part of your organization. When you look at your checkoff list, it asks, were you organized? Did you do it in the correct sequence? Because there are steps to every procedure. Did you cover them all? When you're in the lab, practicing, practice it just like you're going to do it on the patient. When you're doing return demos and test-offs, just like that's your patient, a real patient, not a dummy, not just an arm, not just a leg or a butt or whatever we have up there. Don't look at it as a mannequin. Look at it as your patient. Talk to it like it's your patient. The more you practice in real life, actual patient, the better it's going to be when you get out and you're actually with your real patients. Because then that's how you're going to remember it. So you give your patient a name if they don't already have a name. Because a lot of times we have what? Just a body part. If we're doing wound care, more than likely we're only going to have a piece. We're not going to have a whole body. So you still have to identify that patient. So make up a name. You know, give them a name. Make sure you've checked your orders. You know, what am I doing? What do we have to give them? Are they allergic to anything? What happens with when we're doing wound care?
Probably got iodine gloves.
Okay. Tape or iodine or the chloropreps. Saline, you know, saline's not going to be an allergic reaction, but we need to find out, are they allergic to anything? And we want to know that ahead of time. And just because the chart says one thing doesn't necessarily mean it's accurate. You always ask. Always ask the client. You'll get dinged on that on test-offs if you do not ask about allergies. Okay, what else? I don't want to keep y'all too long. Dressing change. Now what I did was, I went under, in where the videos are, I went under oxygenation and found this one. Because under just the, I think there's different titles, and I don't remember what, not critical care, whatever's under that, clinical, something that Central had a lot of them. But a lot of them are repeated throughout the, you know, in different sections. But this one was under the oxygen, the respiratory section. And I picked this one because it encompassed this one and the O2 flow rates. So this one shows you specifically the different types, where they're connecting them, what you should be setting them on. And then the demo actually has both videos in it. It has the oxygen therapy delivery and the flow rates. So you have two videos within this one little area. And they're very good.
Attach the flow meter or regulator to the oxygen source. Attach the oxygen.
Okay, why is that important?
What was
Because
the
if it ain't
question?
connected, they're not getting
Attach
oxygen.
it to the oxygen source.
If you want the oxygen without it.
Okay? Which one's oxygen on the wall?
The
Green.
The green.
So make sure it's actually connected to the right port. Because a lot of times they're not. Sometimes they're just connected to air or a different type of gas, and the patient starts acting all kind of loopy and stuff, and you get, altered consciousness, and, well, what's wrong? Go back and make sure we're connected to the right thing. So we're wanting to connect them to the right source. We want to set our meter on whatever the doctor's order is. Okay? And then we're going to apply the correct device to the client. So there's different types of oxygen delivery systems. And that's what this video talks about. The different ones. Which one are you going to use for what? One of the simulation scenarios actually put a client in a situation where you had to determine that. Which type of mask, do we use the nasal cannula, do we use a rebreather, or, what do we need? So make sure you go back and watch these videos. I'm not going to torture you with making you sit here and watch them right now. I was, but we don't have to do that. So that one, and what was the other one? Okay, this one is it's talking about the safety of oxygen. So being cautious if you've got a patient that's on portable oxygen, how we're going to use it. If we have a client that is on oxygen, do we need to post anything on their door?
Yes, oxygen in use.
Oxygen in use. What else did it say?
No smoking.
They shouldn't be smoking anyway, because all hospital facilities should be non-smoking, but when you have someone that is addicted to cigarettes,
They don't care.
They don't care.
they don't care.
They're gonna light up in that room.
They don't care.
Burn themselves up.
I was a supervisor, night shift supervisor,
What happened last
and we
night?
had a client, it was a chemo client, and he was a regular customer, so he was in and out all the time. And he would close his door, he'd go in his bathroom, he'd put a towel on the floor, and he'd turn the shower on. He would do all kind of things to try and camouflage that he was smoking in his room.
Like it worked. It didn't.
I went in there multiple times as a supervisor. The staff would call me, and I'd go in and talk to him. Because I'm dying anyway. I said, yeah, but you don't need to blow up the rest of us.
Yeah.
It's not just you that we're concerned about. So you have to, reiterate that the dangers of smoking in a hospital, because they don't stop and think about it. And they get determined that they're going to find them. Like I said, I had one client that actually climbed on the bedside table to light his cigarette off the light bulb.
Wow.
They get creative. I had a female lit hers off for her hair dryer, her blow dryer.
Yeah.
Waited for it to get hot. And
The coils on the
the
inside.
coils on the inside. So those are all very important things when we're dealing with oxygen therapy.
They don't even care.
Well, I'm going to go back to my little man that was the chemo patient. I was off for a few days, and guess what? They had a fire in the hospital in his room, and he died. By the time, because of him putting the towels under the doors and stuff, by the time it actually got enough to set the alarms off, He was in bed, he had fallen asleep, and what happens? It's combustible.
Yeah.
And by the time they got to him, he was too far gone. So, you know, and I share this with you to make that how important it really is, to make sure that it's not happening. And it's not always just our patients, it's their family members or their visitors that we have to remind. Okay. Questions on any of that? So when you go here, when you pull it up, see, so you've got all of these lists. You can find different things under different topics and titles. So the essential collection, you know, has all of these different ones. Remember, and I told you this a couple of weeks ago when we first started, skills that you learned last semester are going to pop up when we do round robin.
It's round robin.
Well, that's when you pick a skill out of a hat and you have to perform it. So all of those skills, no matter, I mean, whether we're testing off on them or not, you're still responsible to know them. So if you don't remember how to do something or you weren't really comfortable with doing it, go back and watch the videos. Come back and ask us. Lab is going to be open in the afternoons from 12 to 3 on Wednesdays and Fridays. Get in there and practice. You have designated practice times where the instructor will be in there. Get in there and practice. The more you practice, the more comfortable you're going to be. When you're in the hospital setting and that client says, "Have you ever?" you are going to say what?
Yes.
Yes. Not, oh, only in the lab, only on a mannequin. No, that doesn't come out of your mouth.
You're my first victim.
I had a client once that, and also a chemo patient, every time he'd come in, they would have trouble starting his IVs. And being the supervisor, a lot of times I was the one that they called and I would go up. Well, he started arranging his visits for his chemo sessions to my schedule because he didn't want anybody else to stick him. And he would tell them, "Y'all come watch, because y'all need to learn. But y'all not touching me." And if I happened not to be working, he would not let them touch him.
Yeah.
He had gotten to that point. His veins were so fragile, you know. So, and we have to look at all of those things. So IV starts is actually one of your skills this semester that you're going to be working on. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that next week. I think we have more videos on Tuesday afternoon. But the IV skills, in our lab, we have a virtual IV simulator. So again, there's only 4 of them. And there's what, 120 of you guys? So it's going to take us a while to get you all through that. So if you got a chance, you got some extra time, you can stay after class and go upstairs and practice, do it. The more you practice, the better you're going to be. Practice on each other up to the point of actually sticking the needle in. Learn how to tie a tourniquet. Learn how to pop that tourniquet and when to pop it. Find the veins. You're not going to, those veins on those plastic arms up there,
Point out at you and stick out like a sore
I mean,
thumb.
they're there. You don't have to search for them. Put a tourniquet on somebody that doesn't have good veins. Find the veins. Practice on each other finding the veins, putting those tourniquets on. With your gloves. Find out what size gloves you need to start an IV. Because technically, the tighter they are, the better they are for you to feel. Those phlebotomists that pop the finger off,
It's a big no-no.
what good is that glove doing? You just defeated the purpose of putting a pair of gloves on.
Yep.
And they do it all the time. So I like to do is I like to put my tourniquet on
Fine.
wash my hands, wash my hands first, put my tourniquet on, find my vein.
Then put the gloves on.
Take the tourniquet off, wash my hands, put my gloves on, and then proceed from there. Find that vein, because sometimes it takes a while to find it. You may have to go from one arm to the other arm. It's searching it. Watch the videos. There's landmarks to help where a vein should be. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. Just because it doesn't pop up doesn't mean it's not there. How many attempts do you get?
2.
2. Then it's somebody else's turn. I've had nurses 5, 6 sticks, and the patient says, enough.
Yeah.
And it's the patient that's calling the quits, and then the nurse comes out all disgruntled. Well, they won't let me start their IV. Well, how many times did you attempt it?
You ain't gonna get it the 18th time.
So, 2 times max. If you go in, when you're doing that initial assessment and you can't find it and you're not comfortable
Don't even
just
try.
sticking them, don't even try. Let somebody else come do it. Now, sometimes you have to, just muddle through it and say, well, let me at least try. I think I see this one. But we don't want to torture our patients. And you might blow a site that somebody else could have gotten, that they could have gotten a, accessible IV in. All right, questions? Y'all good with the videos? You're going to watch them on your own, or we can play them on Tuesday after the test, whenever you got Tuesday afternoon. See y'all. Study. I know it's a holiday, but you got a test on Tuesday, so don't go get plastered on Monday.
Our VA stuff is due the 3rd, correct?
As soon as you can.
It said the certificates or something needed to be due by the 3rd. I don't know. I'm a little nervous about that because it's like 20 exams they have in there. I was like, I didn't realize I needed it. No, it's like questions about their facility.
But you can always go back.
Oh, I can? And like redo the test?
Do what?
I didn't know that. I'm like, oh, I gotta read all this. Okay, so pretty much just like answer them wrong and go back and take them. My God.
Yeah, no, because you have to score a certain score on them to pass it. So when you don't get that score, it gives you a button to click to go back.
Okay.
And it'll tell you where.
Bye, y'all.
Normally I ask first any questions.
If you're going to be up studying tonight, I'm going to call you. Because I might need help with the EAQs. I might coach y'all.
She gets off work.
Because I started on it and yes.
Yes, I missed them last time.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah.
Why didn't you call me? I
I
actually did
didn't
well
think-
on those.
I didn't think about it.
That's what we're on here for.
I know.
Girl, amen to I am very, very terrified right now. Like, especially when what wasn't 24 on my exam. I mean, granted, I have like 150. That's bullshit.
Probably.
All right, now I gotta go to the VA and get.